Okay, my name is Bob Diamond. I'm the one who found this tunnel back in 1981.
Robert, wait.
Hold on a second.
Sorry, guys.
How you fixed now? You coming up the stairs or something?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I will do a dirty job.
All right. Okay. Your history of the tunnel. Let me just explain what you've experienced so far while you came down here. Also, before I do anything else, I just want to mention a couple of safety considerations. This is what they call an unimproved archaeological site, which means that we don't have a nice smooth marble floor to walk on. We have a rough floor with notches where the railroad ties used to go, and there's little shards of brick and stone laying around from when they built this place. So don't run, don't jump, and be aware of where you are. Also, I want to say thanks to the New York City Department of Transportation and the New York City Police Department for helping make these tours possible. Now, just to give you some orientation on what you've experienced so far, that section that you walked through in the passageway up on top, when I first found the tunnel, that wasn't there. Originally, it was filled in with dirt up to within 1.5 feet of the roof of the tunnel. And being somewhat thinner and somewhat younger back in 1981, I was able to crawl the distance from that manhole cover up to this concrete wall and break through. Now, I had to do that crawl with an air tank on my back and a gas mask and some other equipment because they told me there was exploding gas and poison gas down here and 5-foot man-eating rats, but more about that later. Now, the hill that's under here and the stairway were not here originally. Originally, there was nothing here, and there was just a 15-foot drop down to the floor, and I had to use that chain ladder, which is hanging on the wall over there, to climb down and get inside. Now, in 1982, I came back in the summer with some friends from college, and we dug out the entranceway that you just used a couple of minutes ago. Now, to do it, we had to build a homemade mine railroad and a wooden track. And the way this was done was I saw the Great Escape movie on TV. So we just copied the mine railroad they had. So we built the cart out of plywood and the track out of 2x4s, and it worked pretty well. Now the cart held 1/3 of a cubic yard, and this hill has 110 yards of dirt in it. So if you do the arithmetic, we made 330 trips with that wooden cart during the summer of '82. We worked every weekend for 3.5 months. And if you go look around the sides up on top, you'll find the old beer cans to prove it. So that's how it was dug out. Now, the first thing that happened when I came down here was I looked around and I saw there was a hole in the roof of the tunnel right over there. So I was like, God, why is there a hole in the roof of the tunnel? And then on that stone over there on that side, yeah, right there, there's some writing, and it says 3/11/16. The date is March 11th, 1916, and what the writing says is electrician T. Lynch put first electric light in this subway. So I knew the tunnel was closed up in 1861, so I was kind of like, why is there writing on the wall from 1916, and who's T. Lynch, and why was he down here hanging up lights? Now, if you look at the center of the arch, you'll see one of his old insulators still nailed into the roof of the tunnel. Yeah, right there. Now, what I did was, I went back to the library and began doing some more research to find out what was going on in 1916 that would cause these guys to come down here and look around. So I found out that what was doing in the world at that time was World War I was going on in Europe, but the United States wasn't part of it yet. What we did was sell ammunition to both sides while we sat back and took everyone's money. Then President Wilson passed an arms embargo against Germany. So the Germans didn't like this too much. So the first thing they did was they tried to set up a dummy corporation in Connecticut to buy up all the explosives being made in the U.S. And when that didn't work, then they started putting time bombs in the ships carrying ammunition from Red Hook, Brooklyn out to England. Now these little devices were called pencil bombs, and they were set to go off in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of ships didn't have radios back in those days, or not very good radios, so the ships would just never get to their destination. Now one of these bombs failed to detonate, and they found it in England on the ship. So they figured out where it was coming from, and they put a stop to it. So the next master plan that the Germans came up with was to sabotage Black Tom Island. Now all the ammunition made in the U.S. was gathered up in one place before its shipment to England, which is really stupid to put all your ammunition in one place. And where they put this stuff was in back of the Statue of Liberty, where Liberty State Park is today. It was called Black Tom Island back then. and the Germans blew this place up. And the explosion was so great that it nearly broke the arm off the Statue of Liberty. And people were thrown out of their beds 20 and 30 miles away. And a lot of people were killed in lower Manhattan by shards of glass falling down from the tall buildings. And there was a big spy scare going on in the city at this time. So what happened was the people who lived in this area, who remembered that there used to be a railroad through here, began circulating a rumor that there were German spies hiding in this tunnel, and they're brewing up mustard gas, and they're getting ready to release it any second now. So the predecessors of the FBI heard about this, and they actually got together with the City Highway Department. They took the story seriously, and they dug holes in the street until they broke into the roof of the tunnel. Now, they didn't know there was a manhole cover 100 feet that way, so they just had to dig holes in the street until they hit it. Watch the steps are unevenly spaced. Okay, now, once they came inside, they didn't find any of the Kaiser's henchmen running around with spiked Pickelhaven helmets, but instead in their report they wrote that they found an unknown tunnel in really good condition. So they wanted to photograph it and measure it to document it. So to do this, they had to put up some temporary electric lighting, and that's why T. Lynch put up some electric lights down here, so they could photograph it and measure it. Now, being a city agency, within days of photographing this place and measuring it, all their folders got lost. So the tunnel was lost again, almost immediately. Until I came along in 1980, and then it got rediscovered again, but more about that later. Now, just to give you a little bit of a synopsis of what we're going to do down here, we're going to make 4 stops altogether. 3 of them are going to be underneath some of the old light shafts, and when we make those stops, I'm going to tell you more of the story. So just so you know how it's planned out. If anyone needs to leave early, you can do so. You're going to go out the same way that you came in. If anyone runs into any problems here, come straight to me and tell me. Okay? Now, getting back to the linear history of the tunnel, this is actually the world's first subway, and it was built in 1844 by the Long Island Railroad as part of its route between New York Harbor and Boston. Now, the Long Island Railroad that we know of today is not the same Long Island Railroad that I'm talking about now. The original Long Island Railroad was built as an interstate rail connection between New York Harbor and Boston. Why? Because a lot of goodies were coming down the Erie Canal system, which ended in Red Hook at a place called Erie Basin. So they had all sorts of food and fuel and raw material, and they wanted to